Hi, I'm Melissa Dusenberry of All the Brilliance. With me today is Loren Nicole, and she's going to share with us some of her jewelry as well as the epic history and craft behind her work. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
First of all, I really love your work because I'm a huge fan of history and culture, and that is basically what your jewelry is all about.
Yes.
I also understand you have a robust background in archaeology, and I wonder if that guided you some way into jewelry.
Yes, I think the two are synonymous. I was always crafting from a young age, whether it be jewelry or really any other medium.
Right.
And I've had this interest in art history and archaeology, in science, and jewelry just became a blend of all of those interests.
Right.
I was training as an archeologist, and my goal was to become an archaeologist, but I was working as a conservator, which is really science. What's so cool about jewelry when I was learning, especially when I got to gold, not so much the silver, but when I got to the gold, it's all the science in it, and learning about the alloys, mixing all the alloys, learning how sensitive the material is, and then discovering all the techniques. So I'm more driven by the technique and how that really connects it to the history of the piece. You can see where something came from and make it immediately recognizable if you understand how it was made. I guess that's where the archaeology brings me, my jewelry together, my aesthetic, the driving passion behind what I'm doing. It's more about the process of making it and discovering how it was made and discovering probably some of the same mistakes that they made, challenges. It's just so much discovery, honestly. Having the ancient world, their techniques, their aesthetics, their alloys, using cabochons, there's still so much to draw on, to learn from, to practice. It feeds, my interest in archaeology, my interest in history, my work as a conservator. I mean, that's what really drove me to study jewelry at this level.
Can you highlight your favorite skill that is near and dear to you?
So I love chain making. My background is really in textiles.
Oh, okay.
And I was planning to study Inca Tokapu patterns, which are on textiles.
Okay.
And when I was working at the Met, I was a textile conservator. So I love textiles, I love weaving. So when I started learning ancient metalsmithing, I eventually got to this book that was all about chains. I immediately understood it. It's normally very challenging for people, but it's essentially just weaving. And so there's no soldering in the chains. They're all fused links, and you can manipulate them in different ways. This one is a hammered link. Well, what they have in common is that they're all woven together, and you start at one end and you kind of work your way up with these individual links. It's just, they're so beautiful and fluid, and what's really fun is to have a new chain, and then someone has it for a while and you revisit it, and it just moves in such a different way. It really breaks in and becomes so relaxed and soft, especially that chain. So that one's fairly new, so it's a bit stiff.
It feels like a snake.
Yeah.
And I know some people might not like to think about it that way, it might freak them out, but it actually is a very soft, and it kind of is comforting to feel it. And so I could see how when you say it kind of breaks down, it's almost like it becomes a part of the person. It's their skin in a weird sense.
No, I kind of see 22 karat in that way because it is a softer metal. With the chains, it gets soft as you wear it. The piece kind of builds up marks, or it shapens to your hand, your finger, wherever you wear the piece. I love that it picks up your history with the piece as you wear it.
Right. The other ingredient that I love about your work is Cabochon. I believe the historical records say 3000 BC.
That's crazy.
Yeah. and you think about how it's still very relevant today, and a lot of your work really celebrates Cabochon and its perfect imperfections, which I love. And tell me about this ring, because this ring has both the chain weaving that you love and also the Cabochon.
Also a bezel, which is a very old style of setting. Got the cabochons. What I love about them so much is that you can see into the stone. You can see all of its imperfections. You can see its inclusions. I mean, I love stones for the inclusions. You know, every time I find a stone with a rainbow in it, I need to have it, you know, or if you find an emerald that has one of those three-phase inclusions in it, or an anhedral quartz and you can move the little water bubble around. It's just what makes them fun, and I see also the other reason why I like them, aside from the fact that they're historically correct for the style of jewelry that I'm working in. I would say my jewelry is characteristically not shiny and not glittery, and so faceted stones just feel out of place. They reflect too much light.
Right, right. Well, I think it's the bold color and the hues that really resonate with me too. It's sort of warmth and happiness, and there's a kind of a juicy punchiness to it that I love so much. Yeah, you want to eat them, you love them so much, but you won't.
No. Also, what's really fun about a cabochon, not to get down on faceted stones, but with a faceted stone, you can hide a lot. With a cabochon, it's right there. You know the quality of it. Like,
right.
There's no tricking someone. It is what it is.
Right, right.
And I like some of them for that. You know, this isn't a very high quality tourmaline, but I love it for its cloudiness.
Oh gosh, it's beautiful. I love this pink.
Right.
It's incredibly soft.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's kind of like a very soft raspberry color. And then this is, you know, a darker pink tourmaline with better clarity.
Ooh, and it has this little rainbow business you talked about. Oh my gosh, I love it.
And so sometimes it could happen from oil, but most of the time it's just however the inclusion is in that stone. Perhaps there's like a fracture inside of it, and it's just the light catching through that fracture.
These are sensational.
They're so much fun. I love making them.
They are so much fun.
And this is a fun comparison. Morganite. So did you know the story about Morganite and how it got its name?
No.
So J.P. Morgan was an avid collector, and they named the stone after him.
Oh my gosh, that is great. What terrific history is that?
So these are both Morganite.
Oh wow.
This is from Brazil, and this is from Madagascar, I think.
Oh, wonderful.
And you can see the difference in quality of color. You know, the Brazil material is much more pastel, usually more included.
When I look at these cabochons that you choose for your jewelry, I think of them as unique individuals, just like all of us are unique individuals. That's another reason that I love cabochon so much, is that it really is a reflection of who we are and celebrating all of those wonderful different qualities.
And it's so much fun to watch people pick their favorites. It's a joy to watch people play with these charms.
Right.
They really do have their own personalities, and they're meant for one person.
Right.
I love it.
Well, to look at your jewelry, it really does evoke the wonder and awe of our past, not only just from our ancient ancestors and the things that they created, but it still resonates with us today. Somehow there's this, you know, purity and wonder that I think is part of the magic of your work.
I would say the techniques I'm using, we're not so used to seeing them. So that, coupled with just really fun gemstones, it's impossible for it not to spark curiosity in most people. And it's coming from a very intuitive place. You know, we're familiar with all of this stuff, but we're not necessarily always exposed to it.
Right.
Normally we see 18 karat gold and diamonds, and that's okay, we can get that, we take it in right away, but you see the chain and you connect to it, and then you learn about it and you realize, oh, I grew up seeing this chain visiting the museum, that's why it resonated with me. Or, you know, just different gemstones. It's just, we're little kids, you know, you want to have a rock collection. You know, we all love color and inclusions and learning about stones, learning about the world around us. There's so many opportunities in the kind of jewelry that I'm creating to spark some kind of interest, be it art historical, scientific, geologic. You know, there's so many avenues.
Right.
for people to become interested in it.
I couldn't agree more. Thinking about all of these ancient cultures, it also draws on ideas that are very relevant today. So we have all these amazing power women in our past, whether it's Boudica or Cleopatra. Right now, those seem to really resonate with us today, and there's something special about this idea of maybe wearing a piece of jewelry that is using the techniques and the kinds of stones and the kinds of materials that they would have been wearing.
Yeah.
So it's like your own personal talisman or taliswoman.
Yeah, a lot of women that wear my jewelry have said they felt very goddessy in it.
I love
So,
that. Well, that makes complete
Yeah.
sense. I think these are certainly power jewels for power women. And men
you.
as well.
Yes.
Men are very charming. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing jewelry with me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so fun to share what I'm passionate about.
I love it. Keep the passion going.